Namo Buddhaya, Bhante.
Namo Buddhaya. Okay, friends, so let's go ahead and begin with reciting Namo Tassa, and the three refuges, for those of you who would like to join. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sangam Saranam Gacchami. Welcome, friends, to this Wednesday evening Dhamma discussion and meditation practice. So this week we are continuing our review or look at the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, the great discourse on arousing mindfulness. So we've gone through most of the sutta, and now we are going over the last section of this sutta under the category of the Dhamma and the contemplation of the Dhamma. And this last section is contemplating the Four Noble Truths. And basically, the Four Noble Truths is the Dhamma, because all of the teachings of the Buddha are found within the Four Noble Truths. And so it's sort of the culmination of why we practice the Dhamma, and especially in the practice of the four foundations of mindfulness, which is the Buddha's main teaching on, overcoming ignorance, developing wisdom, and attaining the stages of mental liberation. So this last section is really the culmination. And last week we went over the first noble truth, that of the truth of suffering. I'm not going to repeat all of that, and I hope most of you were at that meeting last week or have read that. 3 levels of suffering: physical level, mental level, and what I call the spiritual level of suffering. Now, in this section we're going to be going over tonight, we're going to be going over the second noble truth, and if there's time, the third noble truth. That means, once having defined the suffering, then the Buddha explains how this suffering arises and how does it continue. And in the third noble truth, he goes over how does this suffering cease, or how is the suffering abandoned, and how is it ceased, in the future. So I'm going to. I hope you were able to read this section of the sutta in the link that I've been sending out each week. The link to this sutta. And so the Buddha says, and what, monks, is the noble truth of the origin of suffering? The origin means how does suffering arise in our mind, to us as individuals, but collectively to all people. It's the craving which brings renewal of being, and that means the craving that keeps us locked into the web of karma and continuing to repeat the habits of thinking, speaking, and acting, especially with the negative motivations that keep on bringing the results of those unwholesome actions back to us over again, in the experience of so many different types of, unpleasantness and pains, and the results of our actions, getting caught up in the web of karma. So that is how it, the origin and the continuation of suffering. We start creating habits, and as we keep practicing those habits, they become stronger and stronger and stronger, until we find ourselves, difficult to get out of our, bad habits, whether it's speaking or actions, using body language, even our thoughts, having ill will, greed, ill will, anger, hatred, and ego-centeredness, and so on. These are, we go on practicing and exercising these types of thoughts because we don't have control over the mind. So that's sort of the background of this statement about this origin of suffering. So anyway, it is this craving which brings renewal of being. It is accompanied by delight and lust in this and that, in the various sense objects, the world. That is, craving for sensual pleasures, craving for existence, and craving for non-existence. So the craving, the Buddha describes craving as three types of craving that continues this process of action and reaction, and the karmic actions, and strengthening those habits. So the craving for sensual pleasures, of course we all know that. So that refers to the 6 types of sensual pleasures, the 6 senses. So the eye, we get pleasurable feeling from the eye. We see a beautiful painting, we see our friend, whatever, a beautiful bouquet of flowers, or a sunset. So it brings pleasure. The seeing brings pleasure. And then sounds, you like to hear certain sounds, you don't like to hear other certain sounds. You like to smell certain things, you get pleasure from smelling. People wear perfumes, right, to trigger off pleasure or desire in people. And then in food, look how much money and stuff goes into preparing food because you get pleasurable feeling from the taste. And then also from the body, like caressing someone, you get pleasurable feeling from that. And then even our thoughts. We have pleasant memories we like to go back to, or entertain some fantasy that we want in the future. We get some pleasure out of our thoughts. So these are called, because they bring pleasurable feelings, so this is called the craving for sensual pleasures. Most people live for that. They live for what they can see, and they go out of their way to see beautiful things. Hear, see, taste, smell, touch, feel, things that will bring them pleasurable feelings. Okay, so that's the craving for sensual pleasures. Then there's the craving for existence. That means wanting to live. And the craving to live, the reason we want to live, because we want to experience more pleasurable sights, sounds, smells, taste, body feelings, and even our thoughts. Or we're afraid of death, and so we like the enjoyment of the world. The people who have so much pain in their life, then they want to cease that existence. So there's a third craving called the craving for non-existence, which is a kind of a negative craving, because craving has 2 levels. There's positive craving, that means you want to get something, or if you have it, you want to hold on to it. And there's negative craving, is when you don't want something. And if it comes to you, you want to get rid of it. So when the Buddha talked about craving, he means both these positive craving and the negative craving, which results in like ill will, resentment, anger, hatred, and then the actions to get away from things that don't please us, whether it's people or it's other objects and so on. So there's 3 types of craving, which are included in that, the arising of the craving. So the craving of sensual pleasures, that means the sensual objects of the normal world. And then the craving for existence, that means we're addicted to our egos, that existence means a sense of ourself, basically. We want to go on existing. That's why people don't want to die, right? Because they want to keep wanting to exist. So they're afraid of death, or they do everything to prolong death, which is, of course, is natural, but still it's that craving or desire. And even to the point of, denial. When people are reaching their death, they try to deny it and to keep doing things that will create the illusion that people are still young. So, when they start getting old, they want to dye their hair to gray hair, or dye it to, or get, change the way they look, and so on, because they don't want to get reminded of old age and death. Anyway, so now this next part, the Buddha talked about 60 places where craving arises. This is very interesting. It's one of the only few suttas where the Buddha talks about these 60 places where craving arises. And most people, they only read these popular sutras. They don't read these kind of, details of sometimes what the Buddha is talking about. So the Buddha goes on to say, this craving, when this craving arises, where does it arise? Where does it settle down? And then the Buddha says, whatever in the world has a pleasant and agreeable nature, it is here that this craving arises, and it's here where the craving settles down. So the craving arises, let's say you see something, and then you start really, wanting it more, so it's settling down on that object. Now you can have an initial desire, but if you see it with mindfulness, and let go of it, it won't settle down. It won't kind of continue and lead to some action. So both, there's the arising and then there's the settling down. The mind settles on that object and it focuses on it, and it says, yes, I need that object, or I have to get rid of that object, that itch, or that pain, or that person I don't like, and so on. So it's very interesting how the Buddha words that. He covers all the bases, where it arises and where it settles down. And then he says, and what in the world has a pleasant and agreeable nature? And this is where he goes through the 10 objects of each of the 6 senses. And that makes 60 places where craving arises. So he's saying the eye has a pleasant and agreeable nature, because everybody likes their eyes, right? They want to see. And it's here that this craving arises, when it arises, and it's here when it settles and settles down. So look, people see something, they want to see, they go around window shopping, they go around driving around to see this and see that, go to national parks to see beautiful sunsets, mountains. So people have this craving to see. And then it settles down. They see it, and then they continue to want to look at it. That means the mind's settling down on the object. And that creates this pleasurable feeling that people like it. And if somebody comes and disturbs them, they might get angry. If somebody disturbs, you're very quiet and you're watching a beautiful sunset, and then somebody comes out of nowhere and starts talking to you, and you can notice that aversion arising, that you don't want to let go of that pleasant feeling that you have. So anyway. So the eye, and that's where the craving arises and where it settles down. And then the nose. So the Buddha goes through the same thing for all the different senses. The nose, is agreeable and pleasurable, because people like to smell, right? And there's good smells and there's smells that are not so good. So you have, you can see the positive and negative craving to each of these sensory objects. You might smell a pleasant smell from a pastry shop, but if somebody sitting next to you lets out some bad air from their backside and it goes by, then you have an unpleasant feeling. And then you see the desire to get up and move away. Normally these things happen, but we don't pay much attention to it. But the Buddha's explaining this is how, the craving arises and how it settles down, because eventually you are going to then get involved in the web of karma, in our actions and habits. So the nose, then the tongue. And just reflect on all these things, even in yourself. The things you like to smell, the things you don't like to smell. The things you like to taste with your tongue, favorite foods, or the things you don't like to taste. And then to feel with the body. Of course, painful feelings, pleasurable feelings. And then even your thoughts. So you have a pleasant thought, memory. So people like to dwell on that. Oh, last year I was, I did this and that, and you try to, recreate these pleasant memories that you had. So even that, the mind is pleasurable, but it can also be painful too, because you can have painful memories that come to you, and sometimes you can't shake a lot of painful thoughts that you have, because we keep on, feeding the objects of those thoughts. So the Buddha goes through all of the 6 senses in saying this is where the craving arises and where it settles down. And then he goes on to say forms. So the things that you're seeing, we have pleasure to see, that's pleasure for the eye, but then the forms that we see, there also pleasure arises from that. And then we stay and we want to look at a beautiful flower, for example. You walk into the garden, you see a beautiful flower, and you stop and you want to get close and, see it and, smell it. And, then the mind settles down on that, and you get out your cell phone and, use that app that identifies what kind of flower it is, and all kind of things. So, you're increasing one's sort of attachment. And then the same with sounds and taste and odors. So first it's just the actual sense organ. Now it's the objects that are impinging on that sense organ, that where the craving arises, and where it settles down. And then the third one is eye consciousness. So eye consciousness is agreeable and pleasurable, because if you went blind, or if you're getting older and you have to wear glasses and you can't see so well, you get upset because you have to carry your glasses around with you, and you can't read the fine print, or things get blurry, so you put on your glasses because you want to see that object more clearly. So we can see these things that the Buddha talked about, they're real, in our experience. So the eye consciousness. People are blind, then they don't have eye consciousness. If they're deaf, then they don't have the hearing consciousness. But they would like to. People get a hearing aid when they can't hear, so they can hear more clearly. So even the eye consciousness is agreeable and pleasurable, and therefore we do things to try to keep our sense organs and our consciousness, intact. And then there's eye contact. Now, a lot of these things, of course, they happen, kind of immediately, all the time, but, it's just different ways of seeing how the mind clings as the craving arises. So eye contact. But we go out of our way to see things. We want that eye contact. We want to go, go to the museum. We want that contact with a beautiful painting in the museum. Or to watch a TV show or anything else. That craving to see. So the eye is there, but we need that contact to also produce the pleasurable, the object in the contact. So we go out of our way to create that eye contact. And that's where the craving arises and establishes itself. And then the same way for the nose, tongue, the body, and the mind. We want to contact the mind, so even in the practice of meditation, we're trying to contact a state of peacefulness, mental peace, right? So you practice meditation, concentration, and you're hoping to have contact with that subtler level of vibration within the body and mind, which is a peaceful vibration. And you're trying to, not react to the other contacts. And then there's the feeling born of eye contact. So when you have eye contact, it produces the pleasurable feeling. That's what really we're craving. Actually, with all these things we've already mentioned, the eye consciousness, the objects of the eye consciousness, the eye contact, it's because of the feeling it produces. So the feelings are pleasant feeling, painful feeling, and neutral feeling whenever you have a contact. It means the sensory object vibration touches your sense organ. And that's what we're actually craving, those feelings, especially the pleasant feeling we have that positive craving for, and the negative feeling, the painful feeling, we have the aversion to get away from. Then there's also neutral feeling, but normally we don't react to neutral feeling very much. Neutral feelings are kind of like white noise that come and go in the background, but we're so used to it that they don't cause any aversion or desire, like the touch of clothing on your skin, or just the sound of a fan going on in the house, or whatever, they don't produce a lot of attachment or aversion. But anyway, it's the painful ones and the pleasant ones that are really grab the mind the most. And so the feelings born of those sensory contacts. So really it's the feelings that we're living for. Not the objects so much, but it's the objects that produce the feelings. But if the object stops producing a pleasant feeling, we may not like the object anymore. And it could turn into an unpleasant feeling. And then after that contact is perception of forms. You're actually seeing it and identifying what that is. The perceptions of form have a pleasant and agreeable nature in the world. And so, perceptions and eye consciousness are basically the same thing, pretty much. Because when you're conscious, it's also a perception, when you're seeing and identifying objects. But the perceptions are a mental phenomenon, and they can be distorted. But so those perceptions of all the different sense objects, and then the volitions regarding them, the desire to get them or get away from them. So the desire to actually get it, like you're walking down the street, you smell the smell. In a pastry shop, then you see that desire, your perception, oh, my favorite donuts. And so you follow that smell into the place, and then you see them in the glass counter or on the shelf, you know, and then the volition to get it, you want to buy it. And then you go through the tasting of it. You did all that, and then that seeing it or hearing about it, then all these, you know, turns into the craving for the taste and so on. So anyway, but it's the volition. So, you know, it's the actions that we take, the volitions, which is the actual karma that we take to get that object. And then the craving for these objects. We've already talked about the craving. I mean, craving is always there, but craving is one of these 10 forms. Because, you know, craving can come into the sound, you know, and so you crave to hear some your favorite music. You go, you know, put on a record, or you go to your favorite radio station to hear that, you know, the craving. And then even the thinking about it. So thinking about forms, sounds, odors, we get, you know, pleasurable feeling from that. Just thinking about being with your friend you know, tonight or tomorrow, or, you know, going to the restaurant. So all of our thoughts, basically almost all of our thoughts are oriented toward getting something, a pleasurable feeling that we want, or planning and scheming to get away from an object that you don't want, or that you feel is going to come to you. Go out of your way to avoid those painful contacts. So the thinking about them, and then the continued thinking or the examination of them, the obsessing about it, you know, the mind overly obsessing about, oh, I have to have this object, or to get away from the painful object. So, and after going through all those 60, so that's 60, there were 10 different places where the craving arises for each of those 6 senses. And that's where it forms the 60 places where craving arises. And then at the end of that, the monk says, and this, monks, is called the noble truth of the origin of suffering. Now, if you just think about it, now, a lot of people might hear this and say, oh, that's too much stuff, you know, that's a bunch of nonsense or whatever. But, you know, you have to think about these things. You know, just sit down and actually think about all those things, and you see that that's true. So the reason why people don't, it's hard to overcome suffering is because they don't think clearly and really examine all the different ways that the world has its grip on our mind. And that we, and so much of the Dhamma practice is about, you know, trying to limit a lot of, especially the obsessive infatuation with going out of our way to develop this kind of, you know, desires for doing all these, you know, different things that are mentioned. Okay, so, and then, so that is the truth of the origin of suffering. Now, the third noble truth is the cessation of suffering. And basically, it means the opposite of the origin of suffering. And so it also has the same 60 places where craving can arise. There are 60 places where craving can cease, because craving is tantamount equal to suffering in the Buddha's understanding. So what is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering? It's the remainderless fading away of and ceasing, the giving up, relinquishing, letting go, and rejecting of that same craving. When this craving is abandoned, where is it abandoned? When it ceases, where does it cease? So again, he breaks it into two parts. First, abandoning, and then ceasing. So where does your craving arises, and where does it settle down? So how does it cease? You abandon it, and then it ceases. So there's two parts to the arising, and there's two parts to the cessation. So let's say a desire arises in your mind, and you see that, okay, I cannot satisfy that desire right now. It's useless to just go on thinking about it. So you abandon that. Or especially if you're meditating and an itch arises on your face, and you see that urge to want to, get rid of the itch, so that desire to, lift your arm up and itch. So you abandon that tactile, feeling, and you pay attention to something else, and then as you're able to abandon that and not give attention to the object, then it ceases. That means it goes away, at least temporarily, and you're free to feel or do something else. But our mind is always clinging on to an object, and then we focus on the object, because we haven't learned how to abandon the mind's attraction to especially the things that we don't want. A lot of people do things that they don't want to do, but because they don't know how to abandon. And then they've created these very strong cravings and desires, even to thoughts in your mind. You might want to get rid of your anger, but you go on increasing that anger in the daily life, so it's difficult to abandon it. So much of the Dhamma teachings and the way to live is oriented around how to create the right conditionings to weaken these strong forces in our mind. So, therefore, where is that craving abandoned? Where does that craving cease? And so then he goes through the same things. The I has a pleasurable and agreeable nature in the world, and it's here that craving is abandoned. And it is here where it ceases. So really that's one of the main practices in meditation. Because when you're meditating, you can see the desires come into the mind, the desire to want to look at something, or just in your daily life, not in meditation, but in your daily life. And you see that you really can't do anything about it right now, and it's just taking away your time, wasting your time thinking or doing things that are not going to bring it about. And you think about the opposite nature of it. The way the Buddha taught how to abandon the mind's attention for the craving of the desire is to focus on the impermanent aspect of those desires, or the pain that becoming addicted to those desires, what it brings to you. I mean, we can see how addictions to anything, food, music, body sensation, all these addictions, they create problems in a person's life. They spend all their money trying to get these things, but actually, what does it really bring us? And especially what are the problems that it brings us, and not only to us, but the people we live with. Like people getting addicted to drugs and alcohol because it brings some pleasurable feeling, but it causes so much suffering. So anyway, so those same 60 places where the craving arises, those are the same places where it's abandoned. But it's only abandoned if you have mindfulness, if you have developed your practice of mindfulness, which means paying attention to notice the desire when it starts to arise. When you notice yourself, you smell something on the street, and you start thinking about wanting to have something, or so many things, and we can see this craving and aversion arising in the mind. And it's there where you have to have that mindfulness. And you also have to have the clear comprehension, knowing that most of these things we crave and desire are not going to bring us any ultimate satisfaction. And instead, they're going to bring a lot of worry and frustration when we can't have them, or other types of problems, lead you to break precepts, for example. So this is all a very powerful contemplation. This is what the Buddha wanted people to contemplate: the second noble truth and the third noble truth. How this craving arises, how it ceases, and so that's why it's these four noble truths are really the essence of the Dhamma, and especially the second noble, the arising of suffering and the ceasing of suffering. And then, of course, the Noble Eightfold Path, which we'll cover next week, is the path leading to the ending of suffering. So we'll cover that next week. Now, having said that much, if you haven't read this sutta, or this section of the sutta, I would highly recommend you to read it again and again, or at least once. And then during the week, try to be aware of that. How quickly things catch your mind, how that desire arises forward, and you see yourself craving to have the contact, or the perception, and so on, and the eye consciousness. So these are the contemplations that to be thought about. And even in your meditation, you can see it happen. So I want to see if there's any questions that come up here in the chat box. This week I find myself afflicted with the flu. I've noticed a baseline frustration that has been afflicting my mind throughout the day. What should I do when I notice it? And how can I lessen its effects on my meditation? My mind has been wandering and unable to attain good focus. Well, it's true that when you get sick, it is very difficult to meditate, because it's causing some pain. And so you're experiencing this arising of suffering in the body, because we're identifying the body as being mine, and then that is what causes us to overly be disturbed by the pain that it has, or that you can't enjoy to go out and do the things that you want. So maybe it's interfering with your desire to see something, hear something, smell or taste something. And so we can use these contemplations even in the midst of sickness. So you might not be able to sit, in meditation and as you normally do, but you can at least contemplate the nature of the body, and the nature of the body as it is subject to sickness, and then what have we done that maybe contributed to that? You went to a place where other people were sick and picked up some germs, or maybe not. But all these things arise, out of, without our knowing it, or we created the conditions for them to arise. So how could I lessen its effects on the meditation? Well, maybe try standing or walking meditation, maybe not sitting so much. When it happens, you have to accept that you may not be able to have a good focus at that time, unless you can actually focus on the painful or unpleasant sensations that are going on. But then when you get well or get your strength back, then you can go back and hopefully get more focused in the meditation. But when traumatic kind of situations happen in your life, uh, it's going to be more difficult, and you have to kind of accept that. But we can try to practice by using the various things that we've learned in the practice of the Dhamma to help to minimize that. So. Notice that, yeah, even though you're sick, you can dwell on, read some suttas or, do something not to just dwell on the uncomfortable or sick sensations that you might be feeling. Isn't anticipating and planning things like a child's graduation a natural form of love and hope, not just craving? Yes, you could see it that way, but what if your child doesn't graduate? What if they flunk? Then you might get upset at them, and why did you fail, and I wanted to see my child graduate, now they're flunked. What are the neighbors going to say? There's all kinds of things connected with these, these various things that we have, in terms of our desires and wanting things. But sure, we want those things in planning, but when they don't turn out, then we see the frustration and we're not accepting that things are impermanent. And we're not accepting that we can't control things. But sure, it's natural to have those certain types of. But the more that you're attached, the stronger is going to be the suffering. The Buddha talks about that in other sutras. The more attachment there is, the more you suffer. And if you're not that attached, okay, you didn't graduate, so what? Buddha gave you. And you have to cause yourself a lot of suffering about it. What is the difference between sense consciousness and perception? Well, there's a lot of overlap. Usually when you're aware of something, it's a perception. Like now you're looking at your screen and seeing me talking, so you're perceiving the sound of my voice, you're perceiving the shape of my face or whatever, you're perceiving the Buddha in the background or the lion there or the Bodhi tree. So all these are perceptions, they might catch your eye, but at the same time, they're also sense consciousness. So there's a lot of overlap in a lot of these things, the contact. There's no contact without the consciousness and so on. It's just different ways of kind of examining the thing. Not that they're totally separate different things, but there are different ways of analyzing the problem, the ways that the mind gets attached to it. This question about Sotapanna Sakadagami see desires with mindfulness while in a romantic relationship. Well, I don't know, each person's got to figure that out for themselves. Sakadagami probably is not going to get into a romantic relationship. Probably he would have that pretty much a sense of the detachment. Anyway, I don't want to get into all that because people can argue about it, and and most people are not at the levels yet. So don't worry about it right now. Prior to craving, such as seeing a pretty flower, we knew to abandon pleasant sensations. No, you can have pleasant sensations, but when they start turning into craving, or they cease, then we can see how strong we're attached. So if the thing, you can enjoy things. The Buddha wasn't against enjoying things, but know that that thing can be, that pleasurable feeling can turn into a painful one very quickly. And if you can let it go and then even enjoy the painful feeling, or at least not to hold on to that pleasurable feeling, it's gone. You have to accept impermanence. But people don't want to accept impermanence. They want to keep holding on to the objects, and that's what causes them suffering. So, whenever there's desires, you have to expect there's going to be that aversion or disappointment when it releases. But the whole training is being able to let go of it and to even embrace the painful feeling that comes from it. Let's say you had you're enjoying your favorite cup of coffee, enjoying that, and then all of a sudden somebody comes and knocks the table and spills the coffee all over, hot coffee all over your hand or your clothes. Can you laugh about it? Can you enjoy that? No, you'd probably get angry or upset. But if you can actually enjoy it and kind of laugh and say, well, that's always a possibility that things change, then you don't have attachment. So the ability to see how quickly you can go from enjoyment, when those pleasurable feelings are taken away from you for whatever reason, if we can enjoy the pain or the absence of the pleasure just as well, that means you've weakened the attachment. You've gone beyond the attachment to a certain degree. Because those things are going to happen all the time. And that's the degree which you can observe whether you're attached to something or not, is when it changes. So anyway, and that's what, the mindfulness is for. Okay, I see a golden hand. Damon, I know some of those questions I was just talking about were yours, but go ahead if you have another question.
No, only one of mine was a question. And I don't know, and like you said, I don't know about romantic relationship, but I do know that a lot of sutras did talk about marriage. Buddha had a whole lot of direction and advice for married couples. So if you don't mind speaking to that, might help me, being a married person.
Well, people that have the karma to be married, then you have to understand about impermanence again. Many get married, but what is the divorce rate? It's over 50%. Probably maybe even more than that in the world. And why did people get divorced? Because people changed, and your mate stopped producing pleasurable feelings in you, or you changed and developed for somebody else, and that's what causes these relationships. The Buddha understood not everybody's going to become a monk in this life, and people, even married people, could practice Dhamma even in the Buddha's day. A lot of married couples, if they practice Dhamma, as long as they understand about impermanence and so on, they can, manage and have a good life together. But it's when we can't, when we cling to our expectations of the other, and when the other changes, that's when the problems arise. Okay,
Thank you. Sadhu. Yep.
I think we'll go ahead and finish this discussion now, and so we can have a few minutes break, get ready for some stretching before we sit down for our meditation. Okay? Okay, we'll see you back in a few minutes. Okay, friends, so just try to stand straight. Relax your arms at the sides. Just close your eyes. Just feel your feet pressing the floor. Just feel your arms and hands hanging at the side. Just feel your clothing touching the skin in different places. Feel your head balanced on top. Feel your eyes in the socket. From that point on the eyes, try to feel the outline of the standing body. Just mentally remind yourself of standing, standing. Then begin some deep, slow breathing. You know the three-part breathing, drawing the air from the lower lung up to the middle chest, up to the upper part of the chest and lungs. Feel that expansion, hold the air in 2 seconds, slowly breathe out, feeling the last bit of air go out to the lungs. Just take a few more deep breaths like that, developing this mindfulness. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Hold the breath. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now combine this breathing with these stretching movements. Do the movement while breathing in, holding that position for 2 seconds, returning to the starting point on the out breath. Pausing a moment for the next in breath. Repeating each exercise 3 times. So on the next in breath, raise your arms over the head, interlock the fingers, turn the palms up, straighten your arms, stretch upwards, stretch the head back, look at the back of your hands, and release your fingers, the out breath, arms back to the sides. Again, in breath. Stretch up, bend back a bit. Feel the arch in the lower spine. Feel the sensation. Out breath. And once more, in. Stretch up. Bend back a little more. Out breath. Just relax. Just close the eyes. Keep feeling the outline of the body. And feel the increased sensations. Clothing touching the skin, the increased sensations in your hands and fingers. Just remember standing, just letting go of your thoughts. Keep the body in the front of the awareness. And on the next in breath, lift up on the balls of the feet while raising the hands over the head in this way, facing the hands toward each other, and stretch up. Out breath, come back down. Coordinate the lifting with the breathing, in breath. Stretch. Out. Use the in-breath to help lift up the body. Stretch. Out. Relax. Keep feeling the body, don't let the mind wander. Develop the desire for tactile sensation, more tactile body sensation you can notice. That's a good desire. Keep it concentrated. And next we'll do side bending using both arms. On the next in breath, raise both arms up. And keep your fingers and arms straight, close to your head. Out breath, bend over the right side. Keep the arms parallel to each other like railroad track. And stretching the side, in breath, lift up. And the other side, out breath. In, into the right, out breath. In, out. In. Once more to each side. The out breath, lower both arms. Just close the eyes, keep feeling the body, the clothing touching the outer skin. Increase sensations in your hands and fingers. Feel the head balanced on top, arms at the sides, feet pressing the floor. Standing, standing. Next we'll do the knee bending or squatting. On the next in breath, lift up on the toes while raising the arms up front for balance. On the out breath, lower down, balancing on the balls of the feet. And come down into the squatting position. And take a deep breath, push up. And the muscles in the legs pushing the body up. On the toes. And out breath. In. Out. In. The out breath, relax, feel the increased heartbeat, other pulsations. And feeling the outline of the body, clothing touching the skin, subtle life force sensations under the skin. More sensations you can notice. It's time for your mind to get lost in other thought. You can now spread your legs apart. Do the twisting from right to left. Breathe in. The out breath, twist to the right. With your eyes focused on the hand going back. In breath, back to the front. Let your feet turn with the body, twist to the other side, out breath. In breath, back to the front. Keep alternating sides with the breathing. Once more. Relax. Close the eyes, feel each foot pressing the floor. Feel the clothing touching the skin. Now bring the legs back together again. Do the sunburst backward and forward bending. Just be careful with this. Don't bend back too far the first time, especially if you have a stiff back. Try to touch the little fingers together, palms facing outward. On the in-breath, raise the hands up level to your eyes and begin spreading the arms out to the side as you bend back on the out-breath. Look up at the ceiling. Not too far the first time. And carefully lift up on the in-breath, lift up, keeping the arms out at the sides. And on the out-breath, lower the arms and hands down towards the floor. Let your spine stretch out, little bones in the spine stretch out, keep the legs straight, possibly. And begin lifting up. Turn the palms outward again. On the in-breath, raise the hands up. On the out-breath, spread them out to the sides as you bend back. Be careful. In-breath, lift up. Out-breath, downward stretch. Once more. In, out, be careful. In breath. Out breath. And hold the downward stretch longer. With all those sensations. Bend the knees a little bit. As you come up, breathe in, hands together at the chest. Out breath, hands to the sides, feel the whole body. Feel all those activated life force vibrations. Perceptions of form. Feeling consciousness. Okay, now mindfully come back to your seats. You're sitting. Friends, get comfortable in your sitting position. Sit straight, lining the back of your head and spine in a straight line. Keep your chin lifted up, level with the floor. Gently close your eyes. And feel the outline of the sitting body in the mind's eye. Feel your eyes in the sockets. Point on the eyes. Weight feeling, sitting body, head on top, arms to the side, buttocks pressing the seat, feet touching the floor. Try to hold that outline, the body in the mind's eye. And begin taking a few deep, slow breaths in yoga. For a few seconds, expand your abdomen, rib cage, it up with the chest. Hold the air in the lungs for 2 seconds. And slowly breathe out. And the last bit of air go out with the lungs. Take several more deep, slow breaths like that, developing this mindfulness. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. We're going to count the breaths from 1 to 10. Develop a more continuous concentration on the breathing. I'll do the counting for you. Follow that breathing concentration. With the next expanding in breath, mentally count to 1. Contracting out breath, also count to 1. The last bit of air go out. Next in breath, 2. Out breath, 2. In 3. Out 3. In 4. Out 4. In 5. Out 5. In 6. Out 6. In 7. Out 7. In 8. Out 8. In 9. 10. Out and just continue any deep breathing, discontinue the counting, or if you like, continue, try counting from 1 to 10 by yourself. So make 10 breaths without my prompting. Just keep your attention focused on residual, expanding, contracting sensation. Find yourself lost in thoughts, recognize that it's lost. Forgot where you were counting, start counting again. 1. Count your breath, challenge, not to forget, lose your concentration. You're able to make it to the count of 10 by yourself without being lost. At some point, discontinue the counting. Keep your attention so focused on the breathing. Just knowing when the breath is coming in and knowing when the breath is going out. You know it by feeling. Feel the sensations, clothing rubbing against the skin, stomach, ribcage, and chest. Expand, contract. Tune into the 4 phases of each breath cycle. Expanding in breath, the brief pause. Contracting out breath, the brief pause. Over and over and over again. Helps stay focused, make great brief mental reminders in sitting, out, out, pause between the breath and the outline, the sitting body. Breathing is going in and out of this larger sitting body. Present moment awareness in sitting, out, out, sitting, breath by breath, moment by moment. Be alert for any of the hindrances arising, sensing thoughts. The thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. The breathing body in front of the awareness. Pull that outline, sitting body, mind design. So you're watching the body sitting and breathing. The eye of awareness. Be alert if desires arise in the mind. Aversion. Pleasurable thoughts, disturbing thoughts. you have too many thoughts in your mind, go back to this deep, slow breathing, stay more awake, centered in the body. Breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting. So many different sensations come and go. Thoughts about them come and go. Desires or aversions about them come and go. Breathing body is the lifeline, the life preserver, present moment. We use that connection to the breathing body, mind is easily carried away, swallowed up, various types of desires, aversions, confusion. From time to time, take a few deep, slow breaths to help stay awake, grounded in the body. Opening up to the flow of impermanence, noticing how quickly so many different sensations arise and vanish. Sound, vision, without following them or clinging to them.
you try to identify by that or feeling, perception, volition, consciousness, all the basic desire, drive, withdraw, release.
And let's spend the last few minutes of this meditation period cultivating thoughts, friendliness, best wishes for our own body and mind, and all of it. Again, just observing your sitting body, breathing body, back into slow breathing. Breathe in, hold the air in your lungs as long as you comfortably can. Imagine or feel that oxygenated blood going out through all the cells of the body, that supporting energy, awareness. And the out breath, that relaxation, present moment. Take several deep, slow breaths like that for the thoughts. And be well, peaceful and wise. And be free from excessive attachment to greed, anger, hatred, jealousy, envy, fear, pride, and ignorance. Free from self-created sufferings of body and mind due to such unskillful thought, speech, and action. And application, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. You continue to deepen the practice of meditation, understanding of the Dhamma, free the mind, self-created suffering. And be well, peaceful, and wise. So try to repeat with some deep breaths. With each out breath, imagine the same types of metta thoughts going outward in all directions. People that you know, family members, friends, colleagues, work, other acquaintances. Wishing in all of them be well, happy, and peaceful, free from greed, hatred, fear, and ignorance, free from self-created sufferings of body and mind, unskillful, unmindful thought, speech, and action. If you haven't already, they also have the opportunity in the teachings of the Dhamma to learn and practice meditation. To free their mind from confusion and suffering. May they be well, peaceful, and wise. In a more general way, with each out breath, imagine the same thoughts, vibrations going outward in all directions, across the whole state, the whole country, across the ocean, eventually surrounding the whole earth and beyond. So the idea that may all living beings, wherever they might be, living near or far away, rich or the poor, strong or the weak, famous or the obscure, may all living beings be well, happy, and peaceful, free from greed, hatred, fear, and ignorance, free from self-created sufferings of body and mind, their unskillful karmic action. May all beings have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. May all beings have the opportunity to hear the teachings of the Dhamma, learn and practice meditation to help free the mind, self-created pains and suffering, and the interactions with others. May all beings be able to live peacefully and harmoniously together, understanding the foregoing truth, the interdependence, interconnection with all other beings. May all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. May all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. It's like a mantra reverberating throughout space. Well, peaceful, and wise. Now I invite you to join in chanting the word sadhu 3 times. Slowly we do that chanting on a long out breath, repeating it 3 times. Feel the vibrations in your body and mind. Take a deep breath. Breathe. Breathe. Now place your hands at the edge of your knees. Take one more deep breath. Stretch your head back. Pull the hands on your knees. Relax your spine backward. And lift the head up on an in-breath. On the out-breath, press the chin to the top of your chest. Stretch the neck vertebra. Breathe in, chin up level. On the out breath, relax, put a smile on your face. Okay, friends, this brings our meditation to an end this evening. So next week we'll continue examining the Fourth Noble Truth, path leading to the end of suffering, according to the Sutta. And this weekend I'm going to be having a weekend retreat here at the Line of Wisdom, and I maybe will try to sort of broadcast the 2 p.m. Dhamma talk on Saturday and Sunday, and the closing talk on Monday morning. Broadcast those over Zoom on this same Zoom channel, the same one that I used for the Wednesday evening program. Could also be used for the Dhamma talks at 2 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday, and about 10 o'clock on Monday morning. This is from a retreat that we'll be having. Okay? So feel free to join in at those times. And until then, mindfulness today keeps dukkha away. Namo Buddhaya.